every NBA season, there are players that exceed expectations, meanwhile others are not matching the expectations that were set prior to the season. And this leads to people not being paid what they're currently worth when looking at their game. This was the case of Isaiah Thomas back when he was in MVP contention, where he was playing way over his salary. So in today's video, we will be looking at current NBA players whose contract this season is either an overpay or an underpay. So to start us off with the overpaid players, well, we'll go with the player on the thumbnail, and this is Duncan Robinson. After emerging during the bubble season, he hasn't been the same as a three-point shooter and as a player in general. He was paid a hefty amount simply to shoot threes, and since he got that contract, his shooting percentage have dropped down every single year. He's currently making about $17 million, simply to average 6.9 points, 1.3 assists, 2 rebounds, while shooting 36% from the field, 32% from three, which was supposed to be his specialty, which got him his huge contract. He even got demoted in the rotation for players such as Max Strus, and he's only playing about 18.5 minutes per game, and it's not even a surprise when he plays less or even get DNPs because his defense was always lackluster, but his shooting has not been what it's supposed to be, so there's no reason for the Heat to keep him on the floor. For the underpaid players, I removed the rookie contracts from this category because, well, rookies could be playing way better than their salary, but they're kind of stuck in that situation. Some example would be Paolo. So our first player has exploded this season to many surprise, and this guy is Lauri Markkanen. With a contract near $16.5 million this season, it seemed close to an overpaid when the Cavaliers gave him that contract. But this season, as part of the Jazz, he's been carrying the squad, and surprisingly, he's even having them in a position to play in the play-in, while everyone was expected them to tank and try to win the Victor Wembanyama race. Well, he has slowed down since the beginning of the season, but he's still averaging 22.8 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, while shooting 53% from the field, 44% from three, and 83% from the free throw. He definitely could be an all-star this season for the Western Conference, and an amazing stat that brings his value higher is when we look at win shares per 48 minutes and win share. He's 25th in win share per 48 minutes, ahead of guys such as Devin Booker, Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, or even Darius Garland. And on win share basis, he's 12th in the NBA, ahead of Giannis, D-Book, and even Jimmy Butler. If you were to ask average NBA fans who was leading the NBA in double-double this season so far, most of them would say probably guys like Giannis, Luka, some may say Tyrese Haliburton because he's averaging double-digit assists. But surprisingly, the player leading this category is none other than Domantas Sabonis. And for the salary that the Kings are paying him, they've got a good deal on him. At currently $18.5 million this season, he's averaging close to 18 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, which leads the NBA as of today, while also racking in 6.6 assists and shooting 62% from the field, 41% from three, and 73% from the free throw. He's been a very key contributor to the Kings' success so far this season. Surprisingly, the Haliburton trade was fair to both teams, and Sabonis helped De'Aaron Fox get to the next level, I think, in terms of their fits and how he plays. So it was a very important thing for the Kings' future. He's top 5 in win share as well as in win share per 48 minutes, which, as stated for Lauri, is ahead of a bunch of elite players that are considered MVP contenders. In my opinion, he is also one of the most underrated big men in this season. When people talk about good bigs, players such as Joel Embiid, Jokic, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis are brought up, which is well earned. But when we talk about like a tier little below, players such as Bam are brought up, which he earns his right. But if Bam is brought up as one of the great big, I think Sabonis definitely deserves to be in that category also. But he has been playing in smaller markets, so I think he's being slapped on by fans a lot. He has shown so far this season that he deserves a lot more respect as a player and a way bigger contract when he resigns next year. The next overpaid player is a former teammate with Sabonis, and to no one's surprise, this player is Russell Westbrook. He's currently the second highest paid NBA player for this season at a salary nearing $47 million for the year. Ever since he signed that contract, he hasn't lived up to what he's being paid for. If we look at his raw stats this season, he's averaging only 14.5 points per game, 7.6 assists, 6.2 rebounds, which are good numbers, but he also averages 3.6 turnover per game, while shooting 40% from the field, 27% from 3, and 68% from the free throw, which are horrible shooting splits for your star point guard in today's game. Despite being the second highest paid player, he's 73rd in points per game and only 7th in assists, while also being 8th in turnover. He has a 19.2 turnover rate, which is the amount of turnover per 100 possession, and this is his highest in his career, despite his usage rate only being the 4th lowest for his whole career. So he's turning the ball over more despite less touches per game. And his win share is only of 0.2, which is the lowest in his career. And if we compare him to a similar player that plays the same position and has a similar pay in Steph Curry, Steph's win share this season so far is of 4.2 despite the Warriors' struggle. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to drop a like, and let's try to make this video my most liked video so far with over 5 likes. And let's get back to our overpaid or underpaid players. Our next overrated player is one that is very debatable, as when he's playing for his current team, he can be considered as one of the greatest player in the game right now and in NBA history. But since he has missed so many games in the past years, it's hard for him to be valued at what his current contract is. And this player is none other than Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers are currently paying him $42 million for this season, and he's only averaging 15.3 points, 6.1 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and shooting only 44% from the field, 23% from 3, and 73% from the free throw line. As of today, when I gathered the information, he has only played in 11 games so far this season, and the Clippers are 11-2 whenever he plays. But since he has missed close to 20 games this season, it's hard for him to be seen as such a valuable piece. And it's not only this season that he has missed games. Since when we look at ever since he joined the Clippers, out of the 258 games that they played, he only played 120 of those games. If we compare him to another superstar that has been laughed at because he's always injured, Anthony Davis, AD has played in 163 games out of the 255 games that his team played for the same period. So it's clear to see that Kawhi has not been on the court as much as you would want your superstar to be. The final overpaid player that will be discussed in today's video is Tobias Harris. Ever since he signed that contract a couple of years ago, he has been questioned as to whether or not he truly deserved it. He's currently being paid close to $37 million for this season to be the 76ers' third star, and for the past couple of years, and this year also, he has shown that he might not be a championship aspiring third star. He's currently averaging pretty okay stats, better than most of the overpaid guys that were discussed in this video, with 17 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, close to 3 assists, while shooting 49% from the field, 42% from 3, and 86% from the free throw. But taking into consideration that he's paid more this season than Joel Embiid, who is their star player and probably one of the top 3 player in the NBA for the past couple of years, it is very hard to see a reason as to why he is getting paid what he is currently. Brook Lopez is currently being paid around $14 million for the season, And he's averaging 14 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.7 blocks, which is leading the NBA, while shooting 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and over 80% from the free throw line. He was seen as an all-star and one of the best center when he was with the Brooklyn Nets. And since joining the Bucks, his style of play has completely changed from a post-up dominant player to a three-point shooting and defensive anchor center for the Bucks. As of right now, he's probably leading the Defensive Player of the Year race. The key component as to why he's underpaid is centers that can spread the floor and play good defense, or elite defense actually, like he is, are often rewarded with huge salaries over what he is paid. But since he signed that contract a couple of years ago and he hadn't blossomed into the restructured player that he is currently, his salary is under market value right now. But when it's going to be time to renegotiate his contract, which should happen soon or by the end of the season, since he's a unrestricted free agent this summer, he will probably end up getting offers of close to 20 million per year. Last but not least is a player that has been considered as underpaid for a couple of years now, since he has already been an all-star 2 or 3 years ago. And this player is none other than DeJounte Murray, who is currently being paid $16.5 million this season and close to $18 million next season also. When he's been healthy for the Hawks, he has averaged 20.5 points, 6.3 assists, 5.4 rebounds, 1.7 steal, which is one of the highest in the NBA so far this season, while shooting 45% from the field. He's been struggling a bit from 3, only shooting 35%. The Spurs originally drafted him as a tall defensive point guard, but he has shown that he is more than only a lockdown as a guard. He can score the ball very efficiently, and his game has developed ever since he got drafted. So he signed a early extension, but when his contract is up in 2 years, he will be seen as one of the most coveted free agent, simply because of his skill set and his physical attributes. That's it for today's video. As always, don't forget to drop in a comment down below which player do you agree with, which player you disagree with, and who would you change them for. As stated earlier, let's try to make this my most liked video so far on this channel, and I have 2 video ideas that I'm currently working on for All-Star Weekend, and those will probably end up being my best videos so far. If you don't want to miss them, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, have a good one.